Hello, you lot. How we doing? Get this stream up and running. Clarity. General. Hang around and just wait while everybody. Oh. Well, I thought rather than doing a stream on a game, because I'll be honest with you, it was £6, so I don't feel cheated. But a bit of a slow burn is Valhalla. Maybe I'm just getting a bit impatient. I don't know, feeling a little bit old. No. Actually done much in the way of 2D gaming for quite some time. Actually, most of the time when I want to do some gaming, I'll use the VR headset. Everything else feels a bit wrong after. To be honest with you, playing games on a VR headset as well, even the 2D ones, completely different experience. Really. If only it wasn't quite so sweaty. Just gonna sort of go through some of this. This is an interesting one. Taglioni here was a enforcer for the police, or at least for the mob. He was a policeman. Interesting bit of stuff came up about this, so I thought I'd just share it with everyone. A bit weird. This. Oh.
I recognized that name, but I didn't know why, so I researched it and saw that it was this former New York cop who was convicted of taking 4 men's lives. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So I remembered his case, but I still didn't understand why he was in the Epstein files. So I did some more digging and realized he was a cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein's just weeks before he passed away. But then today, I decided to do even more digging, so I went back into the files and I typed in Tartaglione, and I was surprised to see there are 81 files regarding him. If you want to read all 81 for yourself, I encourage you to do so. Just go to this site and type in Tartaglione in the search bar. So on July 23rd, 2019, that is when Jeffrey Epstein reportedly attempted to take his life in his cell. Not the time that he was allegedly successful, but the time before that. Well, his cellmate at that time was Nicholas Tartaglione. Some of the statements in the files about that day say things like, while observing inmate Epstein, he sat up on the bed and began telling me that he thinks his bunkie, Tartaglione, Nicholas, tried to him. But then you have emails like this that contain excerpts from articles like this one from the New York Daily News, and they are quoting Nicholas Tartaglione. As far as Jeff Epstein is concerned, I never touched the man. I despise anyone who hurts children, but whatever was going to happen to him, I was not going to be part of it. And then you have this letter that is essentially saying, why is the video surveillance of July 23rd, 2019 not available? Which is the day of the attempt when Jeffrey Epstein and Nicholas Tartaglione were cellmates. And then there's some filings in the files that seem to be trying to get some records to be remaining sealed so that it doesn't hurt Nicholas Tartaglione's penalty phase of his case. And that is in relation to what happened with Epstein on July 23rd, 2019. I don't know what to make of any of this, if anything.
Say again.
Frez?
Hey, you're right there, Che.
Yeah, I'm fine. Slightly sick, which is fucking hilarious.
Say what?
I'm slightly sick.
Oh, right.
It's the start of the new year.
Don't fucking give it to me.
I don't think I can go via internet.
Well, you never know these days. High bandwidth and all, you know. But I'm just fitting everything fancily to my screen at the moment. So yeah, I just thought I'd say Happy New Year to everybody, and especially to Jeffrey Epstein if you're listening. I swear he's at that. There's if anyone has a nuclear bomb, just off of Epstein's Island right now, all of the billionaires are meeting. They're having a little private New Year's party. All of the billionaire boats, about 80% of the world's wealth right now is sitting around talking shit with each other over there. Probably kind of going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? It is what it is. So yeah, I'm just I don't know if you can hear this or not. Obviously I'm not able to like feed the audio through particularly well, but if you are listening, this mob enforcer who was allegedly next to Jeffrey Epstein, that was his bunkmate. He just so happened to be an enforcer for the mob, who, of course, if anybody knows about Donald Trump, he had a lot of connections.
Yep.
Yep.
What a surprise.
Mm-hmm. And so what are you up to for New Year's, apart from talking to me?
Well, just, pop the champagne and everything. Now we're just waiting for, I believe it's in 1 hour, your New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I've got my drinks ready as well.
Yep.
As and when.
Sorry, I'm just watching Twitter in the meantime.
Should we get rid of the Christmas tree? Okay.
I don't know. Hey, Rob, did you have a chance to watch the Netflix series Arcane?
Arcane, no.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take a while to explain. It's sort of yet another case of taking one of those fun-loving, sort of crazy characters who loves explosions, and then making them into sort of this kind of pitiful, sad person who's like, oh yeah, I'm just a poor, sad little girl who keeps blowing stuff up, and it's like, kid, don't complain. This is your fault, and you gotta start taking some responsibility there.
Well, I mean, like pirate. You've obviously got people who are pyromaniacs. I mean, it's all a bit of a cry for help. Only when a woman does it.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. I'm seeing the same thing. Like, what they did with the Joker back during the Dark Knight with, what's his name? Heath Ledger. That was great. But then you saw afterwards in the comics. Right now, it's just, how Joker actually used to be funny and everything else.
Yeah.
Now it's just slaughters a bunch of people and then goes, we live in a society, and that's it. And I'm like thinking, hello, where's the joke here? Punchline, anything? Same thing with this character, Jinx. And I fear they're going to go the same route. It's going to be the same thing. Because, like, season 1 ended with her kidnapping her sister, who spent 7 years in jail, where she spent 7 years basically being the lapdog of this drug lord living in luxury. And an innocent woman from the shower, because she had the temerity to hug her sister and her stepdad, the drug lord. And then, because she has delusions and stuff. And the thing is, at the sort of tea party, she says, that the drug lord is a liar, ungags him, and then goes, yes, of course, Dad. Yes, you just called him a liar. Stop listening to him. Why do you ungag him? Leave him gagged. But then, of course, kills him by accident, and then goes, basically, we live in a society, blows up Parliament, and then starts a war. And then in season 2, she hides. Whereas the people that have to bear the consequences are basically getting arrested left, right, and center, and they treat her as a hero. And I'm like thinking, yeah, you guys are basically why are you treating her as a hero? She spent 7 years abusing you.
Well, enough of that. This is I'm going with a New Year's Eve Jeffrey Epstein stream. So I'm going through it's actually going absolutely wild at the moment. Because if you imagine a lot of those girls who came forward, I can't remember the name of the lady who broke the story originally, but she was wading through the Epstein files herself, and she found out her own flight logs. The FBI were tracking. The FBI were tracking the lady who had broken the story about Epstein's flight. And she posted up on Twitter, kind of going, "The fuck are you doing looking at my shit for? Why is that in the Epstein files, motherfuckers?"
Well, it's very simple. Trump is in charge now.
Yeah, but no, remember, Epstein was arrested on Trump's watch the last time. But not this time, the time before. So she just turned up. They were following her the moment she broke this story. The FBI were looking into her. That's how fucked up everything is. It's going crazy. But you've also got the women that came forward once the story broke, and they kept their lips pretty tight when it came to being public about all of the people on the list. Well, they're deciding with the way these redactions are going that nah, not having that. So they're starting to come forward. So if you're watching on the screen, new lady's just coming through. This is one of the you can hear as long as you look. Okay.
Hi, my name is Maria Farmer, and I am a whistleblower. In 1996, I reported Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, and did I mention Leslie Wexner? Yeah, so the Wexners kidnapped me, and they held me on their property, which was 330 acres, okay? And then in the Washington Post, they claimed that I was on Epstein's property, but there was no access to get to this guest house that Leslie Wexner designed based on the Rotunda, which is the Capitol building in Ohio. And this was very much Wexner's property. It was just a few feet away, a couple hundred yards away from the main house. And I was watched, for whatever reason, by 3 guards the whole summer. I believe I know those reasons, but I won't get into them here right now. But I believe it was a grander scheme to traumatize me and take my little sister, which was just unacceptable. I mean, first of all, my sister wasn't offered up to these people. It's disgusting. She was in high school, and I was in graduate school when this occurred. And so it's really important that people understand this could happen to anyone's children. So please do your part and help us spread the word. We're getting ready to make a big deal with the feds, and we're going to need all the support we can get. So if you can share this video, let people know about George Tonks. If you can look him up, let people know about Leslie Wexner, and try to hold these people accountable, especially the federal government, because they're supposed to be here to protect us and not protect just the elites, right? So let's stand up for what's right.
Yeah. That's kind of weird. It's mental. This is she was with Virginia Guffrey. So it's getting a little wild here. So Wexner's on the list. Apparently, Michael Bay is on the list. Michael Bay's one of these motherfuckers. Did not expect that one. Michael fucking Bay. It's going to be a lot of very rich suicides coming about. A lot of divorces.
Yeah.
Hello, Lord Baldur. Yes, it is an open chat. Hello, Baldur. Yeah. Come on in, mate. Don't worry.
Oh yeah.
I'm here to talk to all the waifs and strays who've have got having an indoor New Year's Eve. Thought I'd pick all you up.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. I'm actually planning on live streaming later, so.
I'm at the moment, Magda's gone off to Poland this year. Her mum's not very well. She hasn't been back to Poland really for a Christmas in 20 years. I thought, basically, I encouraged it. Her mum's not very well, like I said.
That sucks, but glad she gets to do that, you know?
Most of that time she's been with me, mate, so I'm spoiled as far as Christmas is with Maggie.
Fair enough. By the way, we always knew Michael Bay loved an explosion.
Yeah, Michael fucking Bay of all people. Gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's already interesting. Like, anyone who's defending it at this point, I'm raising an eyebrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've also got obviously the Trumpists who are a little bit stuck here. You got to feel sorry for them a bit, because it's like they've been, you know, like I know one of the things that I don't trust religious people for a very good reason is that they're prepared, you know, more, you know, I can trust somebody who's, say, a deist, but a theist, I can't trust them, because they're the ones that, well, like, okay, you know, you understand the difference between a deist and a theist, right?
Yeah, a deist is someone who believes that God created the universe and just left it to its own devices.
Or at least there was some sort of, you know, some sort of being that managed this. I personally think that it's a bit of a strange thing to actually think myself. I'm a deist as well as atheist. Whereas the atheist, however, has got a lot of explaining to do. And they get around this by just kind of going, shut the fuck up, you know? And so there's a hierarchy that comes from this. You know, you require a hierarchy in order for there to be theism in the first place. And it's that guy knows what God has in mind for you. Just listen to them. And so it becomes this hierarchical thread of just trust me, bro. You know? And and they get the just trust me, bro people to just trust them. And then they're passing that just trust me, bro attitude down to their children and so forth. And anyone challenging that has to be stopped, because it would ruin the whole fucking system, you know? So it's based on a bed of lies and a bunch of liars lying to themselves about the lies that they've told themselves and their children. And so it's a very untrustworthy and somewhat House of Cardian system that they get themselves to. And you see how angry they get when you ask them difficult questions like, huh? Things like that, you know?
Well, I mean, there is kind of a reason for it. I mean, for the most part, when we're talking about Trump, he is a cult of personality, meaning that these people believe that if Trump fails, they fail.
Yeah. And now, well, they're now in trouble with this one, of course. Is that it's the same thing when it comes to the whole God complex as well, of course. What they're doing is they're anthropomorphizing the universe. And so they think they've got the inside track on all of this information by just saying God did it. God, the reason that Trump is the way he is because God's making him very, very difficult to spot. You know? It's like, okay. So they end up having to come up with all kinds of reasons why this is happening and that's happening. It's like the only reason why there's all this information on Trump being a complete douchebag is because people don't like him. Like, and I'm like, could we reverse that for a second? You know? There's a reason that loads of people don't like him, because there's all this information on him being a fucking douchebag. Could it be?
Well, and he is a very open douchebag, so, you know.
Hello, Anonymous. Producy. Okay, my top chat now has no XP. What the hell is this XP all about? I don't understand. But anyway. If you would like to donate to the open house, because we don't have the whole sort of chat thing or whatever like that, just send me money. That'll be fine. I could do with it. I'm in the red. But Happy New Year to anybody who is in for the long haul. If you have any information you'd like to share, the chat is open. You can share links and all that sort of thing. Any information that you've been happening across today that you'd like to share with the group, It's all good fun and games.
Yeah, all it can offer is political pontification.
That's fine by me. That's exactly what we're here for today. I was going to play a computer game, but to be honest with you, I've not actually enjoyed Valhalla as much as I was hoping, to be honest. It's a bit of a slow burn for me.
Have
you played it?
I was actually wondering. I've played a little bit about it, but I'm not huge on survival games.
Well, it's just an open world game. I wouldn't call it a survival game. It's Valhalla, so it's Assassin's Creed.
Oh, okay. Now you're talking about the survival game, which I thought was called Valhalla.
The survival game? I'm unaware of what you're talking about. You're gonna have to go and find that now.
Yeah, but anyway, I did play a bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it's interesting.
It does feel like a slow burn, though. It does take a while for you to get into it. It's got the RGB elements thing going on. I'm like, why do we need this? You know?
Yeah.
One thing that
it turned into like. Go ahead.
No, carry on.
I was just saying, it's a lot of people I think find it off-putting because it's an Assassin's Creed game where you have Dark Souls-like boss fights, as well as requiring you as a Viking to sneak around.
Yeah.
So I can see how that huge combination could be. Yeah.
It's almost. Well, it's more to do with the fact that it doesn't feel very. The missions feel more like a you against the world kind of thing when you're going there as a raiding party, but the raiding party are just crap. They just sort of decorate the scene while you do stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're the one doing all the work, and they just sit back or get killed.
Yeah. Well, now you're giving me Halo flashbacks.
Oh well, Halo was always a disappointment to me. I remember when the first sort of scenes came out, and you've got to remember this is the very, very early days in the gaming world, and it was originally going to be a game, an open GL game, so you would have played it on Apple Mac as well as PC, all that sort of thing. And then Bungie got bought up by Microsoft, and they made it an exclusive game just for the Xbox. And so even PC players were now pissed off, because they couldn't play their first-person shooter game that they were really looking forward to, and they put in all the attention to it. Worse still, when it did come out, and you've got a reticle with a circle, and the controls were so because they were built on joystick and all that sort of thing, so they were really clunky in the mouse, so the mouse didn't even move around smoothly. You know. You'd have these it would be these iterative like chunks in the first one. It was awful. It really, really bugged me. It really pissed me off about the whole scenario, really. I mean, the idea of story-based and storytelling in computer games wasn't new by the time it came out anyway. It took so long to actually use.
Yeah. I am actually still in the camp that gameplay is more important than story. Like, I can play Mass Effect Andromeda because I can tolerate a game with a shitty story as long as the gameplay is good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say that they're, as far as importance, there is obviously a level here. I mean, like Fallout 4, for example. I was talking to Fox about this earlier. He went back and went for the Vegas edition to play that, and he couldn't. He just didn't like it. And that's the best version apparently, yeah. But I think it's the best version for the people who were really interested in the Fallout games and grew up with them and followed them, and for them it was a big leap, a big iteration by comparison to the previous one. So they had a lot of love for it. However, Fallout 4 was a much more rounded and complete version of Fallout, The experience was better, the graphics were colourful, They didn't feel dated. They don't feel dated even now.
Right.
I suppose it's a bit like the like 8-bit and 16-bit days. A lot of people back in the day when it was for 8-bit games and stuff like that, it was all about the gameplay because it certainly wasn't about the graphics. You know?
Right.
You just didn't have the option of the graphics, so it had to be all about the gameplay. However, when you got to the 16-bit era, everybody was putting in a bit more effort into the graphics, and there was all these curmudgeons who were sitting there kind of going, yeah, but you could spend more time on the gameplay. It's like, there's a guy dedicated to that, mate. He's just not bothering with the graphics now. There's a guy doing the graphics. There's a guy doing the music. Chill out. You're still getting exactly the same.
Yeah, the guy...
Go on.
Yeah, the guy designing the game is going to be different from the coder, unless it's like that one-team shit that some people do, or one-person team.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very rare to find someone who's able to make music, do art, and program all at the same time. Yeah, unless these days it's you get a lot of sort of there's so many assets out there and things like that, so that's a bit easier to do. But, there's always the possibility of generics kicking in, But, yeah, we're living in a very interesting time at the moment, obviously, with sort of... The one thing that sort of bugged me a lot, actually, is that I've got a 1080, GTX for the win 1080, thank you, Chris, donation. And it just serves purposes very well for me. It's a good raster thing. It's like the top end of the raster cards. Obviously, like the 2080, 3080s, 4080s, 5080s, all of these cards are going to be better at the rastering now. But it copes perfectly well. As long as you don't want to throw some RTX at it, it's able to cope perfectly well for me.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. For me, though, I can be a bit of a graphics slut, so. Also, I switched to AMD over NVIDIA due to AMD being anti-consumer douchebags, or NVIDIA being.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that AMD kind of got the inside track a little bit more than anything over a certain period of time because of the foundries and their contracts with each other. So the reason... Have you noticed how high power a lot of these graphics cards are becoming nowadays? You've got the power demands are absolutely ridiculous now. And so we're...
Yeah, I had to move up to the 750 watt.
Yeah, it's a bit much. And the reasoning being is that as graphics have got more and more demanding, and people are kind of going... I think it was the Unreal Engine 5 debacle that really ruined it for everybody, because the Unreal Engine people are kind of going... You don't need to optimize, guys. And that was
well, that was a lie.
Yeah, of course it was a lie. Of course you need to optimize. My God. Happy New Year, Sophie. And now we're in this bizarre age where now they're, offloading a lot of their work to AI to pick up their frames with. And so we're going to be in this world where the game actually runs at 30 hertz, but all of the frames are filled in to maybe up to 120, 240 or 1000 hertz, depending on your system.
Yeah, well, I mean, the AI actually does give you a lot of advantages when it comes to gaming, like the DLSS. That stuff is amazing. Same with FSR. So I'm not going to be against that. It's just how shitty NVIDIA's been lately.
I think that, well, the thing is about a lot of these cards, or at least the AI component, and I hate to call them that. I prefer to call them a tensor component, to be honest, because that's a better way of describing it. Tensors, if you will, are just basically making the line on the graph really smooth, rather than using thousands and thousands of dots to find a good mean average. You can just do about 5 or 10, and then just draw a line in between, and everyone's happy. So,
right.
There goes Fox.
came in and came out.
He was in earlier. He may have just fallen on his mouse. He was going to sleep. But yeah, so certainly for ray tracing and things like that, like the 1080 can ray trace. It just can't necessarily throw enough points at the system, but it also can't really smooth out how the ray tracing is supposed to be dealt with. So the ray reconstruction, for example, is actually the primary and I think possibly the best use of tensor cores to get really sharp ray tracing done. Good reflections that actually look like proper reflections, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the moment you're talking about DLSS, I'm instantly sitting there kind of going, so you want to give me a degraded image and then upscale to that? And I'm like, you're not really giving me a feature there, really. You're just giving me you're making a cheap thing look expensive. That's how I seemed. That's how it feels to me. But this is the problem with it at this point, where you've got 450 watts of your power supply being dedicated to just basically just playing a game. So I'm looking forward to the AM5 socket, hopefully housing a CPU, APU, and an actual APU that can compete with, say, a 5070, something like that. I'd prefer it that way.
Yeah, well, part of me is hoping it bites NVIDIA in the ass and they go back into the consumer market.
I think that ship has sailed, my friend. They're making far too much money in industrial application right now.
Fair enough, but capital goods has a limited pool and it's very easy to saturate the market.
Well, you've noticed, of course, that a lot of people aren't really getting paid much money nowadays. And, everything's got more expensive, nobody's getting paid as much, so that they don't have as much in the consumer market now. That means that there's no point them actually feeding anybody with an expendable income, because they can't find them anymore. The rich want to get as rich as possible, and they don't give a fuck about whether every single person around them starves to death. It just means less of a tax burden for them as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, but at the same time, I get that, but at the same time, most of the Western world has a consumer-based industry. Like, there is a reason why Ford is much larger than Ferrari. So if you want to talk about them not giving a shit, obviously they don't. They're going to be self-interested.
I get you.
But what I'm saying is that interests should be more aligned than they are.
I do get you on that point. The problem is that Ferrari in this particular case is NVIDIA. And everybody wants the best, the best, the best, the best, the best. Yes, they can mass manufacture the best, the best, the best, the best, but then it's who are my customers?
Got it. So AMD's more like the Lexus,
if you will, yeah. And I'd call Intel Ford right now.
Yeah, I mean, God, it may actually be a case where NVIDIA's pushed out and Intel takes its place, if they want to go the capital goods route.
Yeah, as far as actually consumer grade stuff, but obviously we're having trouble because I don't know why, but for decades now, nobody in the UK, nobody in France, nobody in most of America either thought, you know what, maybe we need to make our own foundries. Maybe we need to start making memory, start making chips, start making, high-grade televisions and things like that. Why aren't we doing it? Oh, well, we'd have to pay taxes. We don't like paying taxes. And now here we are.
Oh, yes, and and these workers have these pesky things called rights.
Well, I mean, we haven't had them for quite some time, Everybody's working for themselves, or they've got a 0-hour contract, which is essentially...
As a former supervisor, you sweet summer child.
How do you mean?
Oh, well, I can only speak from California law, but yeah, there's a lot of shit that management can't do to workers.
In California, yes. In the UK, for example, there's so many jobs out there that are 0-hour contracts. And so if you're a 0-hour contract and somebody wants to fire you, they don't even have to. You'll quit. Why? Because they've just given you 0 hours. And then just shrug at your ass, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually kind of scummy because that avoids unemployment unless unemployment law is a little bit different in the UK.
Well, yeah, we do have employment law and all that sort of thing, yeah. But that's for people who have managed to get a contract with an employer that actually values their employees. But with 0-hour contracts, or maybe it's like there's people who kind of going, I'm self-employed, and it's like, so who's your major contractor? And it's like Amazon. But do you contract to anybody else? No. But, well, that just sounds like they're employing you. Yeah, but they don't employ me. I'm self-employed. I've got to do my own taxes and holiday pay and all that sort of stuff. So in other words, you're basically an employee without the employment rights.
Gotta love those loopholes, right?
Yeah. So we're living in a world of loopholes here,
Yeah.
The big guy wins at everything. I mean, it's not like California.
Well, that's always the case.
Yeah, it's not like California aren't doing a lot of damage to their employers.
Oh no, like I'm never gonna say that my state's perfect. I'm just saying it's better.
Well, you're pretty much paying the rent for most of America at the moment. You New York and Texas.
Well, California's paying my rent currently. Thank you, unemployment.
You were saying you were a manager.
Were. I was, and that was from 2016 to 2020. I was a trainer for the airlines. It was supervisory because I was pretty much in charge of the training shift.
Okay.
If you could call that.
Okay. What were you training exactly? You were training pilots, or you were training stewardesses, or
ramp agents, the guys who get the bags in the airplane.
Okay, so
the guys
logistics.
Who, yeah, pretty much the lavs, the waters, pushing the plane out. That's all the stuff that we would do, and I had to train everyone on that.
Cool. It's certainly changed at the moment. I mean, as far as I was aware, like ATC being what it is, I'm sure that's affected a lot of business.
Yeah, but comes with a caveat that wasn't my most recent job. I left that job in 2020. Thank you, COVID.
Yeah, not a lot of people traveling at that point.
Yeah, and well, I could have just weathered it out. Yeah, I decided to move on and get some cybersecurity job instead.
And then what happened then? I thought that would be pretty solid at the moment.
Well, I got a job only in computer repair. So that was good. And then over the summer, they let me go and they didn't explain why. Was not on a final, was not given any warning, just, yeah, here's your paycheck.
Wow. Fucking, I take it that was a 0-hour contract, or they just laid you off?
Let me send you a message.
Okay. Now we're getting too close to the bone. Begging your pardon, mate. But has anybody else been following this Epstein business?
Well, I certainly have. My God, it feels... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, what's the point? MAGA's just gonna go, no, it didn't happen.
Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton,
it's
Bill
like,
Clinton.
Yeah, it's at this point, like, you can shove whatever fucking evidence you want in their faces. No, I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Follow your sacred cow to, you want to die on that hill? Fine. Just don't complain when they arrest you next time.
Well, I mean, in the MAGA sphere, it's quite a collapse. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, of course, a lot of the female counterparts, for some reason or another, aren't keen on men raping girls. Weird, that, isn't it? They finally had a breaking point. Never mind the fact that this guy had been, like provably raping women throughout his entire life.
Well, don't you understand? If you want to get rid of all the brown people in the country, it'll be worth all those child victims.
Yeah. The thing is that
I have a lot of indignation at these cocksuckers right now.
I have a lot of indignation on the left at this point, if you want to call them the left in America, in the Democratic Party, who played the game. They thought, well, let's get ourselves into power so we can incrementally maybe get something through that doesn't piss off the corporate sponsor. We don't want to upset them, and that meant that they end up, glad handing and sucking some dick of some really shoddy, shady people, and doing outdoing the Republicans as best as they could, but having a nice sort of face on it. And this was always going to blow up in their face eventually, because the people that are that actually support them would be disgusted in what they're actually doing. You're going to behave like that. Yeah, and so what's the difference between you and the Republicans at this point? You're still going to do exactly what the Republicans are doing, but you're just going to do it with a fucking rainbow flag. So
well, I have to agree with that. The biggest thing, or the biggest issue with the Democrats, is that centrists don't understand that it's over for them. Like, Nancy Pelosi understood, that's why she's stepping down. So, I don't know. I'm really hoping that they get primaried the fuck out next year. And it looks like there's quite a few contenders in that regard.
Well, I'm gonna go back to the earlier days of when it was Barack Obama versus Barack Hussein Obama going up against John McCain. And I can remember the day where when John McCain lost the election to Barack Obama, and he said that Mr. Obama was a decent man and you don't need to be afraid of him. And that's when he lost his entire voting base completely. It wasn't down to the fact that he'd picked that fucking lunatic. What was her name again?
Sarah Palin.
The Alaskan governor who thought that she could see Russia from her window. How?
Well, the thing is that was not a deal breaker. That wasn't the deal breaker. For most of people in America, that was not the deal breaker. It was the fact that John McCain was not prepared to scare the bejesus out of his base. They're sitting there saying that he's a Muslim, and he's like, no, he's not a Muslim. He's a decent man. Which you're sitting there kind of going, what? So what you're saying, Muslims can't be decent people? But it was just the fact that he, decided, no, hang on a second, folks. He did what George Herbert Walker Bush did, which was try to distance himself away from the only base that will vote for the Republicans apart from the very rich, which is the evangelical Christians. I was talking to Mycroft about this recently.
Yeah.
Because he started to turn back on the
thing about the thing about H.W. Bush is that a recession also fell on him, so that didn't help him during his re-election.
But he was coming from the Reaganites, so they were seeing, all of this, his problem was he was supposed to lose. If he'd lost, then this is the pattern works like this. The Republicans come in, they juice the economy, and then the collapse of them juicing the economy, they're supposed to pass on to the Democrats. Democrats pick up the pieces, they try and clear up the rubbish as much as they can, and the Republicans complain about the fact that the Democrats haven't picked up the trash quick enough. Then they get back in, rejuice the whole fucking thing, crash the economy again, and then let the Democrats get on with clearing up the mess. You know, Mr. Obama came in at just the right time. Literally, the 2008 crash had just happened, and they were like, perfect, let's let the Democrats in to fix this mess. And he could not ever do it fast enough. There was never going to be you're kind of going, you've ruined this economy so badly, it's going to take decades for it to recover. And it's like, well, we're not going to give it time to recover. Because what we're going to do is we're going to vote out the Democrats and put in a Republican guy. And let's see what happens with that. And it was, it was going to, and it was going to basically be, after Obama, it's Kissinger's bitch. Oof. I wouldn't, I was like holding my nose while thinking this is probably for the best by comparison to another Republican who's just going to basically juice the market and fuck everything up again. And so I'm sitting there kind of going, oh, right, well, I'd not prefer Hillary. I would have preferred Bernie, because then he would have actually done something decent with this political clout that everybody had. And obviously, the entire left and most of the left who vote Democrat just basically went, no, fuck off. You can have Trump then. If you're just basically just going to sideline us and you're going to go with Kissinger's bitch because it's her turn, fuck you. And so they've lost the left completely. That's not to say that the left weren't completely irresponsible in this. And that, you've got to remember that, politics is a game of compromise. But you can understand why they were like, nah, fuck off, fuck you, we're done. Plus, with, the whole SJW sort of totally overly sensitive, trying to fucking absolutely ram everything that make everybody feel fucking, you're a racist, he's a racist, she's a racist, I'm not listening to anybody. And so the uncompromising nature, came about, and I'm sitting there kind of going, can everybody calm the fuck down, please? Because this is not going to help. This is going to make things worse. And they're like, you're a racist too. And it's like, I'm not on their side. And so here we are. I remember, what's his name, came up to me and he just kind of go, yeah, you were right about everything. I'm really sorry. It's like, yeah, I love that. That's my favorite fucking thing for people to say to me 5 or 6 years later after the thing I predicted comes true. I love a Cassandra complex.
Yeah.
It is nice. Problem is, most people don't have an ego for that.
It's not really so much that. It's more to do with the fact that it's so predictable. It's so obvious as long as you just take your own bullshit and just put it to the side for a second and just look at it in its entirety. Like, I was saying to this, like, you can predict the future but by just knowing the present. The moment you understand and know the present, the future is an inevitability. It's difficult to plan for, but it's an inevitability. Very easy. But it's you can't know everything. Nobody can. And so nobody can predict everything perfectly. I thought, I didn't predict that Trump would get elected simply for the fact is I didn't think Americans were that stupid. I didn't think Brexit would go through because I didn't think the British were that stupid. That was my mistake. I had pride, or at least faith in human beings more than I should have.
Honestly, it wasn't stupidity, it was racism. And I will say that...
Oh, no, mate, it's not enough. That's not enough. No, it's not enough.
Okay, there's more than that. There's more than just that. But you can't say that it didn't play a factor into it,
Actually, it was more to do with religious indoctrination than racism. You've got to remember that this guy, Mitch McConnell, at the time...
Christian nationalism is just another name for white supremacy. They do the same goddamn dog whistles.
You see, this is where you lose me a little bit here. This is more... There's plenty of black conservatives out there, my friend. And like, as far as like being, say, anti-gay, for example, that's a big problem in the black community.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm not talking about conservatism as a whole.
Yeah, but there's plenty.
I
understand there's plenty of white supremacists in Christian circles. In fact, as far as in America, for example, most definitely. But what I'm saying is that they are not as small a tent as you think, and they're certainly not as undiverse as you think. I mean, that can get, it should give you a bit of hope, to be honest, is that even now, like, an absolute racist will hold their fucking tongue around black people if they can subjugate women. We've come forward.
Shut up for a bit.
A white racist piece of shit and a black racist piece of shit can all come together to be sexist pieces of shit.
Yeah, I get that.
Warms your heart a little.
I would say this, if we're talking about the political level, I always assume they're self-interested.
Yes, exactly.
And that makes politicians very predictable. What benefits them the most, that's what they're going to do.
You've got to understand the desperation economy. Desperate people are cheap labor. Desperate women are more likely to go for, let's say, low-value men. Children that don't have enough in the way of safety and parental guidance end up in the system, are more likely to be exploitable and raped. And of course, fodder for the very rich to be able to buy and sell them and stick them on an island and, turn them into sex slaves.
Yeah,
sort of thing. But, so it's adding to the pool. It's an economic sort of, a supply and demand thing. If everyone's getting along and having a great time, how am I supposed to find a small child to kiddie fiddle? If that kid's going to school and having seeing a future for themselves, and aren't desperate enough to think, well, if this person will give me money, I can get myself some this. Oh, they're going to buy me drugs and alcohol and everything like that. Yeah, it's like, well, you're not going to be able to exploit young children now, are you? They might not turn to religion.
That is a sad truth, though. I mean, the thing about desperation is that they have no choice. Like, if you have no choice, they're going to buy the last-minute ticket, even though it's twice as expensive.
Well, look, the Christians don't look after people that have got it all together. They're looking after the poor and the hungry and the desperate. Well, the more hungry, poor, and desperate people are, the more they can recruit.
Mm-hmm. But that's also not all one system. Like, some things can benefit, like, say, an evangelical church could definitely benefit from something like that.
Yeah. I mean, well...
in terms of car sales, that might be a different story.
But is it a coincidence that the poorest parts of America, for example, are also the most religious?
It's not.
Is it a coincidence?
It's also no coincidence.
Well,
it's also not a coincidence that it happens to be the most...
Go on.
Go ahead. All right, so I'm saying that there's also a reason why it happens to be the most, racist place as well.
Here we go. We're now down to the last few seconds of the old year. We are now basically about to hit New Year's, everybody. I can't give you a countdown because I don't have it by the second in front of me. But we should just about... where's my phone? Let's see where we're at. I'm seeing 23:59 on my clock. So as far as the UK is concerned, and that is the centre of the universe, we're coming up to it. Almost there. Almost there. And there we go. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year for you.
How's 2026 going?
So far, so good. No one's died. Nobody good anyway. I myself have had a fantastic 2025, ignoring the planet by doing all kinds of weird things in film. Just finished the Wanted Man with Hugh Laurie. He's back in the UK. Stopped all the house thing.
He's still
I thought
doing
House
it?
ended quite a while ago.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, God knows how many seasons, but it was a lot. It was a good decade's worth, you know. Yes, and I don't know if you can hear. We've definitely got some fireworks going on outside. Let's open a window.
Discord has gotten way too good at getting rid of the background noise.
Yeah, never mind. But you'll just have to imagine that there's fireworks display going on. Maybe I'll find fireworks on YouTube, and we'll just play that. That'll make it.
My neighbor could probably kill himself, and you probably wouldn't hear it.
There we go. Happy New Year! Whee! Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah. So 2026 is going to be quite the stunner. The resource wars are happening at the moment. Obviously, with Venezuela being a imminent threat to America for some reason out of the blue, and it's not a distraction from the Epstein files, honest.
Yeah, totally. They're a threat with their fentanyl and whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny seeing all the anti-war MAGA now going, yeah,
Yes.
invade another country, have another Vietnam. I'm like thinking, oh god, what again?
And of course, Iran having the audacity of planting itself in the middle of all those American bases is somewhat of a threat to US interests. We've got Russia making AI video of itself getting attacked by drones that don't look like drones, firing missiles that don't look like missiles at itself as a pretext for what? I don't know. I'm kind of
or a
hoping...
further escalation, which will totally get them to conquer Ukraine.
Yeah, well, my girlfriend...
How long is this?
My girlfriend is in Poland right now, and about 100 and something odd miles away from the coast of Belarus. So I'm really hoping that she comes home soon before it's too late as such. Yeah, we've got the Brits, the French, the Germans, Netherlands. Everybody is basically like rearming and getting themselves prepared for possible Russian invasion.
I found something interesting about Italy right now has a better navy than Russia, which is fucking hilarious.
Well, they don't really
Ukraine
have
has a better navy than Russia.
Yeah, and the Italian navy doesn't catch on fire randomly. I haven't seen one of our aircraft carriers just randomly burst into flames, which is good. Well, this is Italy, by the way.
Well, the Ukrainians did manage to defeat the Russian navy without actually having one. So that's what happens when you park too close to your neighbors, guys.
Yeah, and when you don't do maintenance.
Mm-hmm. But they've still got plenty of subs.
And when...
I'm waiting for Poland to annex that little chunk of Russia that's on their coast.
Oh, Kaliningrad.
Yeah, they fucking should. They fucking should. That'll fucking piss them off.
And Putin's gonna. And Putin is like, oh, this is not fair. It's like, well, 1,000 years ago, one of our ancestors pissed on that piece of land, so that's ours.
Hey, Poland just needs to call it a special military operation. Russia will understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally
We need
think
to denazify Kaliningrad.
Yeah, I think that the Ukrainians should actually start working their way into once they've actually got their territory back, at least in the south. I think they should carry on until Georgia and cut off that whole southern area and get them out of there. Because then they'll be in real trouble at that point, and they'll have that Swan Lake has been being played on the radio in Russia, so we may be getting some good news soon. Does anybody know that reference? Ooh.
What happened? Something about Swan Lake?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Soviets played Swan Lake when they didn't want you to think of the news.
No. They play Swan Lake when something serious is happening, as in let's say, a change of regime.
All right.
That's the hint.
Right.
So, I mean,
they want the media occupied.
Yeah, that we are at that point now where you got to imagine that Putin has been surrounded by all of these sycophants with their hands behind their backs with a massive fucking knife ready to stab him in the heart at any point. And him just basically just getting rid of political dissidents, getting rid of any possible political competition is going to, it's going to take its toll on people as it is. Now he's killed, is it now 1 million of his own people in this war? Something like 1 million.
Over 1 million casualties, but casualties doesn't necessarily mean death.
No, but that's I'm saying that I believe it to be 1 million dead, and way beyond 1 million. The Ukrainians have not been kind when it comes to drone attackings. Literally, if you imagine,
nor are they obligated to be.
Well, to be honest with you, as far as war criminality is concerned, it's been pretty nasty on both sides. However, if you imagine, if you get hit by a drone, let's say a suicide drone or let's say a bomb-dropping drone, you're usually not really in any fit state or condition to survive. Those things open you up. I've seen some of the imagery that they post, some of these drone units, and they do their thing. And to be honest with you, I mean, I've seen guys so fucking scared that they actually just put a grenade up against their own neck, just so they don't.
Oh yeah.
So they have the choice to get out of there. They're that desperate. I've seen men who are now just basically just shooting themselves in the head because they just can't cope with it anymore. It's that terrifying. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of drones on fiber optic lines, strewn over, it's like spiders' webs.
Trust me, I've seen enough on Telegram to see that shit. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is more for the audience's sake here. It is a absolutely terrifying war at the moment for anyone who is Russian, because they're just completely outmatched. They're bringing as many men as they can to the occasion, while the Ukrainians are holding them off. I mean, I was hearing a story about I think it was about 3 or 4 guys who held off over 8 months. Imagine 8 months, and it's just 3 or 4 of you. And they're just holding off wave of attack with drones to basically bring the amount of people coming down to attack them down to a sliver. So they're just picking them off as they go. But for 8 months without anyone coming to turn them around and things, they're in a desperate fight. But Putin's just running out of people. It's just running out of men to throw at it. I mean, if you're talking about 130 million people in Russia, I mean, how many of them are retirees? How many of them are children? How many of them are employed in parts of Russian society? And then you have a small percentage of a fighting age that are able to even do it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about it as well is that the high casualty rate also led to a high attrition rate on their armored vehicles, meaning that the soldiers that are being sent into the battlefield are pretty much unprotected, which means they're going to die the moment the RPG drone hits them.
Yeah.
So it just keeps getting compounded, you know. Russia keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker, so they keep sending more and more guys out.
But they're running out of guys, and I there's a let's say a motivation that I think Putin has is that the less men there are in Russia right now, the men certainly of fighting age, the less chance he has of actually having a revolution where a bunch of people come and fucking drag him out and basically tear him apart. There's also that.
But he's also an autocrat, though. He's way more likely to get couped. Is a thing.
But I mean, if you have some sort of let's say Arab Spring kind of deal, where the entirety of Moscow descends upon the Kremlin, there's not a lot they're going to be able to do about it, and that means everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying revolution isn't impossible. I'm just saying though, if I were Putin, I'd be worried about the guys closest to me.
Well, yeah, the thing is, the guys closest
especially
to
if they're losing money.
Yeah, the guys closest to him, of course, can also be killed quite easily, though, because he's got. It only takes 5 or 6 people to, basically go to that person's office and just take them away. Whereas when you've got 500,000 to 1 million people stood outside the Kremlin demanding he leave, what's he going to do? Start firing on them? Because then that will just make it even worse. So that's a bigger worry, I feel.
I mean. Yeah, and I understand that, because the last thing I would want to be is getting King Louis'd, but, it's not the only threat. He has quite a few, and I'm kind of surprised at his supporters, because you'd think that since so many are put on the chopping block, that they may think, hey, either we get rid of this guy or we're going to die. I'm surprised they haven't reached that point.
Yeah, but you've got to understand that the Russians, for all their bluster and all their sort of talk of basically being the hard men of the East, the people there are actually quite, they're scared little pigeons who are easily manipulated. They keep their fucking mouths shut because what's the point?
Medvedev has always been Putin's bottom bitch, so I get that.
Yeah, we're not, we're just as bad in the UK as well. We're quite wimpish when it comes to this sort of thing. The French have got some balls, at least.
Well, I mean, especially dealing with Russia.
And now we're in real trouble, of course, because the Chinese are firing rockets off the coast of Taiwan. Because we're now in this place where the Chinese are sitting there kind of going, well, if America just basically thinks that they own, the entirety of the Americas, and Russia thinks that it owns Europe, we'll start owning our part of the hemisphere.
Yeah, God. It may be a case that the only reason China hasn't attacked Taiwan is because of how poorly Russia has been doing.
I mean,
because maybe the Western equipment is that much better than what they have.
Well, it's difficult to say now. They've now got themselves into a great sort of situation where they've got a lot of precious metals. They're literally, I think it was Trump's son who's basically did a deal with the Chinese to bring down tariffs for them, so he could get the inside track on all of the on their precious metals. So he's sort of like it's more along the lines of what are you going to do about it? That's the the key take home with a lot of geopolitics right now. What are we going to do about it? Right, right makes might makes right here. And obviously the Americans are just kind of going, well, what the fuck do you think the South American countries are going to do about it? They haven't got Armada parked outside of Venezuela right now. They can't do shit. And so And if they've got their armada, which apparently is one of the largest armadas ever outside of Venezuela, they're not busy outside of Taiwan, are they? And it will take quite a few months.
Plus, it's not like... Not only that, but it's not like any of America's allies are just chomping at the bits to jump in and defend Venezuela. They're not going to sanction the U.S.
Yeah. They're not going to sanction the U.S. They've got their own worries to deal with Russia trying to take over Europe. And worst of all, of course, is that if, for example, the Chinese were to invade Taiwan, the Taiwanese companies that manufacture every single computer chip, memory sticks, all of those foundries will be destroyed by the Taiwanese.
Yeah. And I get that. It's not like they're going to let that fall in the hands of China.
Well, they've got kill switches for all of this equipment. It was built in, and it was almost a mutual assured destruction kind of deal, because the Chinese had to rely on this Taiwanese these Taiwanese foundries. However, that situation has now changed, whereas the Chinese are now actually investing in their own foundry. So now they're starting to compete in that way. So if they were to take over Taiwan, it wouldn't really matter what was left of Taiwan in the first place, because this is actually a national pride thing. You understand why they want Taiwan in the first place, right? It wasn't anything to do with the fact that they've got the entire world's foundries.
Right. I never assume it's just cultural.
Well, in this case,
I never assume it's just bad blood.
No. Well, how about this? You remember the Cultural Revolution with China?
Yeah.
It wasn't a communist revolution. That came later.
Right. Well, yeah. So, trying to remember, the Cultural Revolution happened before the Civil War, right?
Yeah, and who escaped from that Civil War because they lost to the communists? And where did they go?
I know it's Taiwan. I forgot his name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
So this is what I mean. This is them completing their communist revolution. So this is like some manifest destiny bullshit. So it's ingrained in their society.
Be. Yeah, but at the same time, they're also seeking to get something out of it. For example, the processors and computer chips.
Well, once again, they don't need them anymore. This is the point. You see, they've been heavily investing in their own foundries. So here's the thing: if they were to go to Taiwan, the Taiwanese would simply hit the fucking kill button. All of these foundries, basically, they've got explosives everywhere. They destroy these foundries. Who does it really affect at that point?
Right. So I get what you're saying.
Who does it affect?
In which case...
Let's tell the audience, who does it affect?
Us.
Yeah. And it makes them now in the seat of primacy. Literally, we've got Taiwan with a gun to its head, saying, if you kill me, if you try this, I'm going to blow my own head off, and everybody in the world won't be able to use my foundries. And they're like kind of going, go for it. We've already got our own.
Yeah, I switched to AMD, motherfucker.
AMD, where do you think those get made?
I know Nvidia's Taiwan, but I thought AMD was China.
Nope.
Both Taiwan?
Well, everyone goes through TCMC, yeah.
Oh, goddamn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I get their leverage now.
Now, yeah. This is what I mean. Bring your own head out of it, for example, and look at it in its entirety. Now, this is why I'm so worried for the world in this year. Russia has no other choice but to go for it, because otherwise Putin's probably going to be dead. So he's going to push for that. The Chinese have almost an incentive now to cut the West off. Because Texas Instruments aren't going to fucking step up. Let's say that. And it will take them a better part of a decade to make up the difference. The only thing... The only thing that saves the Europeans is the fact that the things that actually do make the computer chips are in the Netherlands. So the machines that they use in order to actually make the computer chips in the first place are actually produced in the Netherlands.
I think Texas Instruments, where do they make their processors? Do they make them in the US?
Them and Intel are the only American foundries. This is why Intel basically just fell behind completely, because they were trying to go sub 10 nanometer. And they had this massive delay because it was a real struggle for them to actually get it together. And obviously the Taiwanese just ran away with it.
Yeah, so a bit of insider information regarding Texas Instruments. So my friend from Utah is actually stating that Texas Instruments is planning a huge business operation in the said state. Particularly for that reason. And I cross-referenced it, looked it up, absolutely true. And now that you mention it, the geopolitics might explain why they're just suddenly ramping up.
But I mean, what process are they using here? You see, this is the thing. If they can't get down to 1 to 2 nanometer process, then they're just out of their depth. And this
this is Texas Instruments. They are not.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Texas
I'm not saying that
they're not.
They're no slowpokes. I agree. However, for somebody to make up a new foundry from scratch, it isn't like just making up a data center, mate.
Well, they're trying.
This will take a better part of a decade. You won't see anything coming out of Texas Instruments that's going to be competing anything from Taiwanese for maybe 10 years.
Yeah, well, it would be weird if 10 years from now Texas Instruments does make our video cards. But
not really.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say.
Well, no, not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it wouldn't be a.
Maybe the Commodore.
It would only be weird,
can you imagine a new Commodore coming out? You know.
Right, and I get it. I'm just throwing spitballs, but truth be told, Texas Instruments has never really been a consumer industry. You know.
They were always supplying chips to everything else. Yeah. I mean, if you look at, say, the 68000 chip that was originally in the Amiga 500, that's been the chip that's been powering most of routers for even to this day. Just a great...
Yeah, well, I mean, routers don't...
It's a great routing chip.
Well, right, good throughput, I assume. Because when it comes to routing, unless you're doing like something crazy like a skyscraper, I don't think you need that much throughput power, processing power.
Well, it's just basically a glorified switch. It's just a switch.
Ah, gotcha.
You know, it's just a level 3 switch.
Oh, so no DHCP or anything like that?
Oh no, all of that's there, of course. But if you imagine, you've got to have the level 1, obviously just with the wiring, level 2 with the switching. Okay, but you've got to have level 3. You've got to have some sort of order as to how this is being switched and prioritized, or all that sort of. You know, they just don't think about sessions, crap like that. It's unnecessary. And so a chip that was basically built in the 90s still worked perfectly operable in that way. They have it on a better sliver.
Yeah, and well, it does kind of point that with a lack of necessity, they don't really innovate.
This has been America's problem all the time. You see, they've like sat on their laurels for all this time and outsourced all of their manufacturing, outsourced a lot of their high-tech manufacturing, and this is where things really started to go wrong for them. I could probably pinpoint it at around the 2006, 2007 sort of time, where they started to go to the Chinese a lot about everything. And it meant that the Chinese could undercut everybody. So a lot of the brains for the design was still stuck in America. But now the brains for design were, and when I say stuck in America, they were being imported anyway. And so America now has a real bad problem with education because nobody's clever enough to do it. You have to import people clever enough to do it. I mean, the two people that are in charge of, say, AMD and Nvidia are fucking cousins. Both of them are Chinese.
Yeah, and that is definitely a problem. And honestly, talking about it really pisses me off, considering what the Republicans have done to education, particularly in red states.
But that was the only way to keep themselves in office.
Yeah. And maybe that's the blessing in disguise for Trump, because he's certainly fucking up their chances.
Yeah, I believe, is it Colorado recently? Lauren Boebert is something to do with all of that. And because of her stance on the Epstein files, I believe Trump has decided to destroy a water filtration plant there. It went through, went through the House, went through Congress, got up to Trump, and he's like, "Nah, fuck you." And so
he withdrew funding, and I don't know how that's not contempt of Congress.
Yeah, well, it's worse, of course, is that Colorado are anyone from Colorado is going to be like, well, fuck this guy then. You know?
Yeah. So the issue with Colorado is that, particularly eastern Colorado, most of the water and snow comes from the west. So all that stuff gets absorbed into Utah and a little bit of Nevada before it reaches Colorado. And even then, the ones that get all the snow are small mountain towns. Denver is at the end of the Rockies, so that's the huge issue. And yes, as you can imagine, climate change doesn't make it worse, but there's also population issues and stuff like that.
But these people are going to know about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, and considering the special elections we had, I think they're pretty fucked.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that the Democrats have is that their popularity isn't great because they've let this happen.
Oh yeah, like nobody's giving them a free pass about what happened, because they really screwed the pooch on the 2024 election. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be right back.
Okay, so it's just you and me stream. So whoever's watching, I don't know actually who is. Right now, of course, I'm just like letting it hang. I don't mind. Obviously, you guys have got things to do with your lives, I'm sure. That's okay. I hope you're being informed and entertained by what we've just been saying here. I know it can be a bit high level for some of you. Like talking about geopolitics after, I mean, this stream was basically originally about just basically like games. Games, or at least politics getting interfering with games. I was always the geopolitician in the first place. I just didn't want to say too much about it because I was trying to sort of help people understand themselves a little and catch up. If you imagine, a lot of people in the gaming world had had the wonderful distraction of watching the gaming industry grow up and become the absolute powerhouse that it is today. But as an industry becomes big and money becomes a huge deal in that particular situation, politics starts to enter, I'm afraid. If we didn't want politics to enter games should have just kept its profile low. And it doesn't really have the choice for that, I'm afraid. It never does. If it makes you feel better, there's more politics in orange juice games. That's the truth of them. There's more politics in banana sales than computer games. the fruit business, because it's so huge. Everybody buys fruit, everybody eats fruit, everybody transports fruit, got to go to different countries for fruit. It is a massive deal, and we're talking like death squads level. You know, people don't just kill each other over diamond mines. They kill each other over fruit plantation. Slavery. You could bring it down to just basically people making sugar, you know? Funny, really. I could bring you back to a lyric from a reggae tune, which you burn up the burn up the marijuana, you'll burn the cane fields. And this was Jamaicans talking about the fact that people were coming over and burning up where they were growing weed. And they were like, well, if you're going to fucking do that, then we'll burn up the fields where you're making beet sugar. A lot of politics in reggae, for example. What's this? Okay, let's do a little thing here. Interesting.
Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, is in the Epstein files, and before anybody starts foaming at the mouth trying to soften that, let's talk about why his name shows up, because it's not some innocent, once-removed coincidence. According to sworn testimony from Virginia Jefferey, who was trafficked while she was a minor, Matt Groening didn't just cross paths with Epstein, he accepted a flight on his private jet. He flew to the island, and Virginia says during that flight she was instructed to give him a foot massage, and he could very clearly see that she was a child. That's not networking, that's not a misunderstanding, that's a grown man getting comfortable on a trafficker's plane and accepting a young girl being presented to him like an amenity. Matt didn't have to get on that plane, he didn't have to accept anything, he didn't have to act like any of that was normal. Matt Groening had contact with Epstein, he boarded the jet, he flew to the island, and he accepted an underage girl being told to massage him. Those are the facts, and that alone is enough.
There we go. Yikes. This Epstein files thing just keeps on giving. For anyone thinking about Nick Shirley at the moment, Nick Shirley is that gentleman who's been going around certain parts of Minnesota harassing Somalis who have made daycare centers or even night care centers by turning up in the day when these people are actually turning up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon to a daycare center that's actually going to open up at 2. This is obviously a huge projection to get everybody to be concentrating on anything else other than the Epstein files. I'm looking at this because this was settled, or at least is being settled and investigated by the Minnesota authorities like months ago. So he's just picking up an old story that he's seen locally and he's just running with it, hoping that we obviously all do our thing. He's a very young man, and so he's obviously being used by the right as best as he can. They're calling him the next Charlie Kirk and all that sort of thing. It's like, well, look what happened to Charlie Kirk, mate. I'd leave that one alone if I were you, but there you go. Yeah, but we've got a lot of things to go through now at 2026 when it comes to billionaire class basically thinking that they own us. This is also linked with the Israeli connections, Mossad connections. From what I understand from a lot of the witnesses, or at least these, let's call these ladies whistleblowers. Others would just say victims. There's a massive Jewish connection to this. And the sad thing about Judaism is it's an inherently racist religion. And because of that, you've got the very idea that, you have a people that are chosen by God. That means the people that aren't really quite as good. I prefer, we're in the God's chosen master race phase of Judaism for the Israeli people. You've got to feel sorry for them in a way. if they weren't so evil about it. And then, of course, in the UK, we've got a lot of people who are supporting Israel. I can show you this one. Look. These are the sort of people that are not so much protesting anything really. They're, let's say, rallying for Israel. Why they're stood outside of this particular building is beyond me.
Did I miss anything?
I'm just going through a few videos of people who are pro-Israeli trolling and, you know, obviously, throwing people death threats or whatever like that, because obviously the religion of peace is, of course, Judaism. Although, you know, here's the one thing I don't understand is when somebody says Judeo-Christian values, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know? It's like, aren't you like, you're not exactly big fans of Jesus. You know, show me a Jewish person who's a good fan of Jesus, please. Ask Ben Shapiro. You know, it's like, I mean, I've got a few memes up. I might actually do that myself. Hold on. Let's see if I can get some. That.
You know, on that note, it makes me realize just how fucking day and night the values between Moses and Jesus were.
Well, here's the thing. If you ask, say, Ben Shapiro,